right, are we done with this question? And let's discuss the answers. Guys, you need to be careful about articles. Sometimes articles, if they are there or if they are not there, that's a very good hint for eliminating some options. For example, in the first one, they say the planet Venus can be seen as the Earth's evil twin. At first sight, it is of dash mass and size as our home planet. Similarly, consists mostly of rocky material, holds some water, and has an atmosphere. Now, some of you have written approximate here. If approximate would have been the answer, the sentence would be, at first sight, it is of an approximate mass and size as our home planet. But since an is not there, you cannot write approximate. What else do we have? It is of comparable mass and size as our home planet. So they are actually comparing two planets on the basis of their mass and size. It is of estimated mass and size. Estimated cannot be used because the estimated is used when you have a figure written after, like estimated these many billion people or estimated these many millions of rupees. That is what estimated is used with. And alike is something that looks similar. So the answer would be, it is of comparable. Comparable means that the size and mass are very same. When two things are very similar to each other, not much difference, then we say they are comparable. For example, say if one student has got 10 out of 100 marks and one student has got 90 out of 100 marks, we'll say that their performances are not comparable because there's a big difference. This comparable is being used in that sense, that they are nowhere close to each other, then we say not comparable at all. And when they are very close to each other, then we use this word that yes, they are comparable. Okay. The second one says, yet a closer look reveals dash differences between them. So this says that they comparable, they have, they're very similar kind of, but when we look closely to them, reveals dash differences, attracting a lot differences, a lot of should be there, striking differences and powerful differences. Now if powerful can fit, powerless should also fit. Powerful differences and powerless differences is not an adjective to describe differences. Same way attracting differences, it rather should be striking differences because it's a collocation as well. Striking means very clear differences. Striking features, striking differences, a very common combination. So it says striking differences between them. Venus's thick CO2 atmosphere, extreme surface temperature and pressure, and sulfuric acid clouds are indeed a stark dash to the conditions needed for life on Earth. Now here again, a collocation, very popular one, which says a stark contrast is a collocation. A stark contrast means a very big difference. A completely opposite thing is when we say stark contrast to the conditions needed for life. So it has sulfuric acids and extreme temperature, which is completely the opposite of the conditions needed for life. So it's called a stark contrast. Then they say previous studies have suggested that Venus may have been a much more dash place in the past with its own liquid water oceans. So may have been much more contribution place, but place is already a noun. So we don't need a noun here. We need what kind of noun, what kind of place it was. Hospitable place, attentive or agreeable. Now Venus is a planet. We say this is Venus is agreeable planet or Venus is attentive planet. Doesn't make sense. So we'll say hospitable planet because hospitable means a place which has the capacity to host somebody is called hospitable. So they are saying earlier we think that studies suggest that Venus used to have its own water. So maybe it was a hospitable planet at that time. And then they say a team of astrophysicists led by this university and this regional center investigated. So we'll straight away say a team of astrophysics investigated dash our planet's twin did indeed have milder periods. So they investigated yet means but still. So can we say a team of scientists investigated but still our planet's twin? Grammatically wrong. A team of scientists investigated already our planet's twin did indeed have or almost our planet's twin did indeed, or it should be rather whether our planet's twin did indeed have milder periods. And to be more sure, when you read the next sentence, the results suggest this is not the case. So this was that this investigated whether it was the case or not, and the answer is no, it was not. So the fifth one, the last one, would be the team investigated whether our planet's twin, so our planet's twin means Venus, whether Venus did indeed have milder periods, and the results suggest it did not have so. Right, so these are the answers. Going through them once again. Comparable is used when two things are similar, they do not have very big difference, then we say they are comparable. Approximate and estimated are used with values, and alike means something that looks the same. For example, these two people look alike, means they resemble each other, so their faces are very same, then we say alike in that sense. And Venus and Earth, we cannot say that it is of alike mass. Their mass does not look same. Mass is not something which is seen. Their mass 500 grams, their mass 700 grams, they look the same. Doesn't make sense. Right? The second one is striking difference. Clear difference is called striking. A stark contrast is a collocation. Venus as a planet was much more habitable, hospitable, in the same sense that it had the possibility of hosting someone because it had water. And in the last was a question whether this was possible or not, and the answer is no, it was not possible. Right? Any questions, anybody? Any doubts? All right, let's move on to the second one. Okay, so you have 2.5 minutes to solve your second question. Put your answers in the chat box. Okay, should be done by now. Easy question though. Let's look at the answers. So this says genetics is the study of how living things receive common dash from previous generations. So we all are living beings. What out of the options is the thing that we can receive from previous generations? So previous generations would be our fathers, forefathers. Can we receive traits, features, profile, or factors? So profile, Facebook profile kind of thing, or Insta profile is not something that we can receive from our previous generations. No factors can be received. Traits and features both mean the same, which is more academic out of the two. Features is a general common word that we use. Traits is a better word for features, means characteristics, or we generally say um, traits like the color of our eyes is the trait, color of our hair is the trait that we get from the genes. So it's trait rather than features. So that would be the answer based on academic strength. These traits, so how do you know that traits should have been selected? From the second sentence, they have referred saying these traits. They will never ever refer to something with these or such unless and until that word already is a part of your context. So reading these traits made it clear that you have to talk about traits before that, before this sentence. Then they say these traits dash by the genetic information carried by a molecule called DNA. So these traits dash by means it's a passive sentence. So these traits are describing, are and ing and is never a passive form of writing. It's active form of writing. These traits have described is again active form, and are described is what is passive form. So whenever you have by written in the sentence, you always select passive forms of verbs, and passive form of verb is are described, and active form of verbs are describing and have described. So these traits are described by the genetic information carried by a molecule called DNA. The instructions for constructing and dash an organism are contained in the organism's DNA. So what form of verb they have used is ing. We also need ing form of verb. The instructions for constructing and dash an organism. So intervene is not ing. We'll eliminate that. Utilization, everything that ends with tion is a noun, but we need verb here. We have two verbs, using organism or operating an organism. So do we use organisms, or let's say DNA uses organisms or DNA operates an organisms? So it won't be using. DNA does not use us. DNA operates us. DNA makes us function. So it will be constructing. DNA constructs us and DNAs make us operate. So constructing and operating an organism are contained in the organism's DNA. Every living thing on earth has DNA in its cells. A gene is a hereditary unit consisting of DNA that occupies a spot on a chromosome and dash a characteristic in an organism. Again, which form of verb they have used is occupies, first form of verb with plural, because your noun is DNA, which is singular. So DNA occupies something and something and dash a characteristic. We also need verb with S because we are writing the same sentence. The noun is still DNA, which is the same. So decided is past form, eliminated. Thinking is ing, eliminated. We need one with S. Determines and calculates. Now out of the two, what can we do with characteristic? Can we calculate characteristic or can we determine the characteristic? So we'll go with determine. We don't calculate 1, 2, 3, 4, a characteristic. So it will be a DNA occupies a spot and DNA determines a characteristic in an organism. And then they say genes are dashed from parent to child. So with R, it should be ed form of verb. It was rather easier to understand generally also. Genes are transferring right now from parent to child. No, ing cannot come. Genes are passed on, genes are prevented, or genes are shifted. So it will be genes are passed on. Something which is hereditary, we use the language pass on for that thing, which is from parent to child. That is from one generation to another. Things are passed on. So these are the answers. Any doubts, anyone? Second one is you need passive form of verb. So have described and are describing are active forms, but passive form is only are described. These traits are described by something. If you say have described, that means these traits have described someone. Then it cannot be by, because the doer would be the traits in that case. But here they mean to say these traits are described by someone. Someone else describes the traits. So go through the concept of active and passive once again from the grammar videos. If have and are not is still not clear. Intervene is interfere. No, Nisha. So you can say passed on from. You can say that this is our what is it called? Traditional jewelry, which is passed on from generation to generation. So it's not always with two. You can write it without two as well. All good. Any other question? Anyone? Last one is genes are passed on from one generation. Anything that goes from generation to generation, you use the word passed on for that. All good. So here is your question number 3, and you have 2.5 minutes. Please post your answers in the chat box. Okay, some really good answers. Let's check what is right and what is wrong. So this talks about Statue of Liberty, formerly Liberty Enlightening the World, colossal statue on Liberty Island in the upper New York Bay, US, commemorating the friendship of the people of the United States and France. A French historian, this difficult named person, made the dash for the statue in 1865. So this person made something for the statue, made the offer, request, proposal, or program. And all of you are right. Proposal is something better. Request, one person cannot request a statue such big to be made to commemorate friendship between US and France. And statue is not a program, statue is not an offer. Proposal is better than saying offer. So good choice. Funds were contributed by the French people and work began in France in 1875 under sculptor this another difficult person. The statue was constructed of copper sheets hammered dash shaped by hand and assembled over a framework. So it was constructed of copper sheets hammered dash shaped, hammered over, along, against, into. It's like converted into something just like that. So hammered into the shape means it was given the shape with the use of hammer. So it will be hammered into shape by hand and assembled over a framework of four dash steel supports. So we all know how big the Statue of Liberty is. So they say assembled over a framework of four dash steel supports, four gigantic, immense, enormous, miniature. Miniature is small. Enormous is big, but gigantic is better because it's very, very huge. When we use the word gigantic, that means very, very huge. So we'll go with that. Immense is like too much, not in size, like immense happiness. We cannot measure the size. Enormous, we generally use with abstract things as well, that enormous problems, enormous difficulty. But gigantic is specifically used for the size of buildings or towers. So in that sense, it goes more with physical structures. So we'll go with gigantic. And next is the Colossus was presented to the American minister to France, Levy Morton, in a ceremony in Paris on this date. 1885, the statue completed, these many feet high and weighing 225 tons. It was disassembled and dashed to New York City. Linked, associated, shipped, distributed. So it was shipped to the place where it belonged to. The pedestal, designed by this American architect and built dashed the walls of Fort Wood on Bedloe's Island, was completed later. So basically, what is it? The pedestal. Pedestal is the base of something. So the pedestal was built. Yeah, pedestal was designed by this person and built dash the walls. Now let's say there are 2, 3, 4 walls. Built inner the walls, built within the walls, built beyond the walls, or built among the walls. Among is between, like the 2, 3 walls, and in between them you are making a pedestal. That's not possible. So the answer was rather within the walls. Within means inside of it, not going outside. If you have gone through the grammar videos, we did the meaning of within is not going up, not going out of that limit is when we use the word within. So within the walls means inside of the walls, they have built that pedestal, means the bottom base, the bottom support for the statue. So beyond is like crossing the limit is when we use the word beyond. Beyond the walls doesn't make sense, making the pedestal beyond the walls, like crossing the limits of the walls. So it will be inside of the walls. They have made a base as well. So these are the answers. Any doubts, anybody? Mother, it's on Language Academy PTE academic group. The one in which you get the updates for these sessions, where we post the times and everything, the links. On that page, you go to the section featured. There you'll find the videos. Scroll to your left 4, 5 videos back. Third one is Gangetic. The meaning of Gangetic is something very, very big in size, huge. That's called Gangetic. It's specifically used for structures, tall buildings, tall towers. So we say they're Gangetic, very big, very high rise. No worries. So you have question number 4, and you have 2.5 minutes. Please solve it and post your answers in the chat box. It is B, C, B. Okay, let's look at the answers. This says, fortunately, the dearth of talent was short-lived, although it would take at least another decade before areas such as news and sports coverage approached their potential. More than enough excellence in the dash of comedy and drama emerged in the 1950s. Two fields, comedy and drama. So what we need here is plural. Enough excellence in the variety of comedy and drama categories, array or arrangement. Comedy and drama is not an arrangement. This is not one array. So it will be, these are two categories of entertainment. One is comedy, one is drama, two fields of entertainment. So excellence in the categories of comedy and drama emerged in the 1950s to deserve the dash of discriminating viewers. So with the, we need a noun according to grammar. Exposure, highlight, attention, observation. So exposure can be a noun, highlight can be a noun in some cases, attention and observation are nouns. Something that ends with tion is a noun. What can be of discriminating viewers? So viewers would be human beings. Exposure of viewers, attention, observation. So it will be deserve the attention of viewers, because we won't say that these two fields came up in 1950s to deserve the observation, to deserve the attention of viewers, so that viewers pay attention to them. They are the most fondly remembered of the golden age genres for both emotional and intellectual reasons. Live TV drama was, in essence, the legitimate theatre's contribution to the new medium. Such shows were dash prestige events and were afforded respect accordingly. So such shows were prestige events. So they were prestige in inverted commas is highlighting something. These shows were regarded as prestige, guided by prestige events, considering and including are grammatically wrong. Such shows were considering prestige events. So it will be, these shows were regarded as prestige events, and that is why they were given request. If you can see, the way they have written, they were afforded respect accordingly. Accordingly means because of this reason. So like in such way. So it will be, such shows were regarded as prestige events and were afforded respect based on that level, according to that level. So that is why accordingly comes here. The comedies of the era are remembered for the same reason that comedy itself endures human suffering, and the ever elusive pursuit of happiness render laughter a necessary palliative, and people dash have a particular fondness for those who amuse them. And people have a particular fondness, the sentence is complete. We don't need an informative word here. And people although have a particular fondness doesn't make sense, because if although is there, where is the effect of although? Where is the second part of although, the contrasting part? And people accordingly, as we did here, according to something is when we put accordingly. And here we don't have anything which we can fit in according to this thing. So it will be, people therefore means because of this reason people have fondness for those who amuse them, because those people would get them rid of suffering, get them rid of sad things in life, and will give happiness to them. And that is why they would be fond of those people who amuse them. Amuse means entertain them, because they were talking about comedians, people who used to do comedy at that point, at that time. So these are the answers. The first one is categories, because we have two, so we needed a plural noun here. Second one, again, deserve the dash of discriminating viewers. So why these new fields emerged? To get the attention. They emerged because they got the attention of viewers. Third one, these shows were regarded. Prestige means like something of highly important, something that had massive respect, that is prestige. So like we say prestigious ceremony, that means it's something important, something valuable. So that kind of, so that's why we are saying these shows were regarded prestige events, And according to that level, they were given request also. And last, the sentence was a bit long and hence it was complicated. They say the comedies of the era are remembered for the same reason. One is that they were also considered prestige. That's why they said for the same reason that comedy itself endures human suffering, and the ever elusive pursuit of happiness render laughter a necessary palliative. This was the reason. It used to get people get rid of human suffering, and it used to give happiness and laughter, which was necessary. And people, so this is the reason. And people therefore means because of these mentioned reasons, they have fondness for those who amuse them, means fondness for comedians basically. If you want to put and people also have, so why are we putting also? We are already talking about comedy only. So why will we put also? We are saying comedy is very good. Like it help people to get rid of suffering. It used to give them happiness, and people also liked comedians. But you're already talking about comedians, so we cannot put also. We'll say that is why people liked comedians, right? That's how therefore will come. Array means variety of. Same like we can use variety, we can use array. Better way of saying variety. Okay, anybody else? Usage of era. Where is era here? Era is like time period, like in this era, that particular time period. That is how we can use that. Okay. So here comes your first question for reorders. You have 2 minutes to solve this and post your answers in the chat box. Why not variety? Because it did not have off. They said in the dash, there were examples of two fields. So you're not saying in a variety of things. There were only two. So you say this and this category. So in the categories 1 and 2. So last one, yes, they will say that because of these reasons, people used to like comedians. So kind of conclusion, that's why we say, therefore, they used to love, they used to be fond of comedians. People who amuse them would be comedians, right? Okay, the first question for reorders, and you have 2 minutes for this. Okay, very good attempt. Those who are putting A at number 2, we are saying this combination. Where is the combination? You only talked about Darwin before this sentence. And you're saying this combination. So you talked about Darwin's theory, then you said this combination of Darwin and present, and then you again moved to past. What kind of zigzag is this that you are making? Past, present, past. So it should be rather, first one is C, Darwin's theory of natural selection laid the groundwork. Groundwork is the basis for evolutionary theory. However, means this was just the basis. However, it was the emergence of the field of genetics pioneered by Gregor Mendel in this year that provided the missing information on how evolution works in practice. In practice means practically. So he started, but the missing information was filled by this person. Then we continued. Here's the full name, Gregor Mendel. And here we have only Mendel. So we'll continue with that. Mendel's experiments with bees led him to realize that heredity in sexual reproduction works by the mixing of separate factors, not by the blending of inherited characters. And then this combination, at least we have two things that we can combine of Darwin's theory and our current understanding of heredity led to the birth of scientific area called population genetics. So you just talked about one thing, you cannot say this combination. At least there should be two things only, then we can combine, right? Any questions, anyone? Any doubts? Thank you, Arav. So here goes your question number 2. And you have 2 minutes again. I was expecting more of you to give the right answer. So how are you starting with A? A does not even have the name of the topic. This says between the 1960 and 65, the average number of daily viewing hours went up 23 minutes per TV household, the biggest jump in any 5-year period since 1950. So this is information. What is the topic? Is this the introduction to TV? Is this the way you will introduce TV watching? This is simply giving data about this increase by 23 minutes to something, not introducing that you're going to talk about TV here. So we have years 1960 and 65. The data is given for 60 and 65 with a comparison to 1950. At the movie theaters, weekly attendance plunged from 44 million in 65 to 75 million by the end of the decade. So this is 65 to 70. End of the decade would be till 70. That year, so we have to find out which year average daily household radio usage had dropped to less than 2 hours. TV viewing, on the other hand, had climbed to more than 5 hours per day and would continue to rise annually. So we have to talk about which particular year we are referring to here. In spite of changing attitudes towards the medium, by 1960, there was no question that television was the dominant mass medium in the United States. This is television. These all are TV. So what is full form? Television is the full form and TV is the acronym. You cannot use TV unless and until you have mentioned television. So this tells you that this is your first sentence where you have the full form and where you're introducing. Why are we talking about television? Because it was the dominant mass medium in the US, sorry. Not talking about trends and figures and values is ever your first sentence. You talk about them to specify, to explain things. So here you say by 1960, there was no question that television was the dominant mass medium in the US. And that year, we are talking about 1960 because the other years move ahead of 1960. So we first say that year it happened this and this, then just going with years between 60 and 65 this happened, and after 65 this happened, because it's just information. What was the number of viewers in this year, what was the number of viewers in that year, what happened after that. There's no other information, just numbers. These many minutes, these many millions people, and increase by this much, that much. So there's no other trend, no other connector. So we just have to go in a flow of what was the earlier ratio or data and what was our data later on. So simply going with the chronological order and introducing television, not TV, right? Any questions, anybody? Good, Madha, good attempt. Can see some of you doing really good in reorders now. In spite means, Fatima, in spite is even after. That is in spite. Any other question, anyone? Any confusion in this particular question? Okay, so you have your, yes, despite and in spite to an extent means same. Despite is more academic than if we talk about academic strength. That's nice, Madha. If the classes are helping you, that's really nice. Okay, third question for reorders and the last one for today, and you have 2 minutes to solve this. Okay, let's look at the answers. So this says Clark makes the point that the characteristics of a technology have a decisive influence on job skills and work organization. Clark would be the name of the person. Let's see if we have full name. Makes the point means this is where they have started talking about what point was he making. So there was something about technology. It has a decisive influence on jobs. So means technology's important role on job skills and work organization. For braver man, so again can be the name of a person. Let's see. The shape of a technological system is subordinate to the manager's desire to wrest control of the labor process from the workers. So technological system is subordinate to manager's desire. You not need not understand each and every word, just the overall context. Put more strongly is the way on of emphasizing on something that you just said and you want to give more explanation on that thing. Then we can start saying put more strongly. Technology can be a primary determinant of social and managerial organization. So something again talking about technology and positive, that it can be a primary determinant. Technology can determine social and managerial organization. John Clark. So here we have the full name. John Clark's study of the effect of the modernization of a telephone exchange on exchange maintenance work and workers is a solid contribution to a debate that encompasses two lively issues in the history and sociology of technology: technological determinism and social constructivism. So here you have both the terms. We are talking about technological determination and you talk about social things as well. So this was the first sentence. Clark believes this possibility has been obscured by the recent sociological fashion exemplified by Braverman's analysis that emphasizes the way machinery reflects social choices. This possibility means we have already talked about some possibility. After that, we refer to that possibility saying this possibility. The first sentence was this John Clark's study, and here we only have the study was about what? It was about two lively issues. Now, what did he say in the study? So Clark makes the point. What was the point? That the characteristics of a technology have a decisive influence on job skills and work organization. To put more strongly, the same talk about technology is still going on. To put more strongly, technology can be a primary determinant of social and managerial organization. And this can be is possibility, because I say this can be done means it's not sure. Possibility is what can represents. So we'll say this possibility. Clark believes this possibility means this can be is the possibility. And here you introduce obscured by the recent sociological fashion exemplified by Braverman's analysis. This is where you introduce the other person, Braverman's analysis. And what was the analysis? That emphasized the way machinery reflects social choices. And here you further extend saying for Braverman, the shape of technological system is subordinate to manager's desire. So this can play such an important role that this was a reference to this possibility here. Right? DACEB. Yes. Good, Nisha. Good attempt. Any questions? Anyone? Any doubts in this question? Very nice, Sonia. Jagmeet, very nice. Okay, girl bar. See, it's not like first time or like the question is easy or something. It's just like when you try to find out some bases when you put the pairs, they will turn out to be correct. It's never possible that in reading blanks or reorders, you will be like 110% sure that yes, everything is, right. You will be doubtful, but that doubt, let it be there. Just focus on why am I doing it? I have a reason for putting this pair, or I have a reason for not putting it with something else. It should be fine. Well, yes, the videos are really helpful. We have made them after having a good, great discussion on a lot of uh, things, like this should be emphasized, that should be emphasized, and that's why I advise all of you to go through, because at the end of the day it's not about like, you should watch my videos, it's not for views YouTube thing. It's just because yes, we got this feedback from a lot of students that they are helping, those videos are helping them. That's the only reason we want you to watch them maybe twice if it's helping you the first time. And yes, it will help, but that's the effort and the hard work of the whole team that we have put into. It's just my voice and my explanation, but it's a work of the whole team that we have done in that. But it's we really felt good that it's paying us off with you people improving in reorders. Okay, so what we have now, you thought like me, really? Thank you. Okay, first question for reading blanks, and 2 minutes for this. Post your answers in the chat box. Okay, let's look at the answers. On the first one is a bit not correct by many of you. As an indicator of change in the Earth's climate, shifts in the Earth's climate. We use the word shift in geography a lot of times, shifts in the climate, shifts in the temperature. So we use that, and that is why that is being used here, though it means changes only, but we don't want to say one change, because if it would have been one change as an indicator of a change in the Earth's climate, then it will be only one. But here we are talking about generally about changes in the Earth's climate. So it will be shifts because we need plural word here. So it will be as an indicator of shifts because it's general, it's plural. Change will mean only one change. In the Earth's climate, the isotope record has two advantages. First, it is a global record. There is remarkably little dash in isotope ratios. So little variation, very good. This you have done well. Little variation in isotope ratios in sedimentary specimens taken from different continental locations. Second, it is a more continuous record than that taken dash rocks, than that taken from rocks. Good, this is also good. Because of these advantages, sedimentary evidence can be dated with sufficient accuracy by radiometric methods to establish a precise chronology of the ice ages. The dated isotope record shows that the fluctuations in global ice volume dashed the past several 100,000 years. This is not a definite time period. So whenever we don't have a definite time period, we say over the time period. Whenever it's a like 100-year period, 10-year period. So when we do not talk about one fixed this to this, then we say over this time period. So this says fluctuations in global ice volume over the past several 100,000 years, because it has happened all those years. So that will mean over the years have a pattern. An ice age occurs roughly once every 1 lakh years. These data dash a strong connection between variations in the Earth's orbit. So these data, these tells us that it is plural data here that they are using. So these data dash a strong connection. Again, we have are and have, whatever we discussed in the reading writing blanks. So have is active when data has done something. Are is used when the doer is somebody else, and it should be by when you're using are with. So we don't have by here, it will be these data have done the work. These data have established a connection. So who is establishing the connection? The data is establishing the connection. So it will be active voice. If it will be these data are established by an organization, then we will use are established, right? So that's the difference between active and passive. Any questions, anyone? First one, we need plural, Jagmeet, and the plural option we have is shifts in the Earth's climate. We are not talking about one shift or one change. That's why it will be shifts in climate. Last one is active, passive, Arav. So active voice is have established and passive is are established. We don't have by here, so we cannot go with passive. It's active voice. The data has done the work. The data has established this thing. So doer is given before the blank, so it's active voice. Right? So Nisha, if there will be only one change in the climate, and how do we know which change they are talking about in the climate here? As an indicator of dash in the Earth's climate go through numerous of changes on like everyday basis. So how can we say only one change? And if change would have been the answer, they would give us the article a before the blank. Without a, it's grammatically wrong to put change, right? Singular nouns cannot come without articles. All right, question number 2, and you have 2 minutes to solve this. Very good. Good answer, good attempt. So this says databases and data warehouses are the components where the material that the other components work with resides. A database is a place where data is dash. So with is, it should be third form of verb. Database is a place, easy to understand also what is a database, is a place where data is collected and from which it can be retrieved by querying it using one or more criteria. Sentence is complete. Still we have a blank, means we need an adjective. What kind of criteria? Any word that can describe criteria here. So specific criteria, we don't have any other adjective. A data warehouse dash all of the data. So data warehouse is singular. We need a verb with S. A data warehouse consists or contains. With consists, we need consists of, but we don't have of. So we'll go with contains all of the data in whatever form that an organization needs. Databases and data warehouses have assumed even dash importance in information systems. So even more important, something like that, even greater importance. We also have biggest, but biggest is third form, so we will need the before third form of verb. Assumed even greater importance in information systems with the emergence of big data, a term for the truly massive amounts of data that can be collected and dash. So it's ed form. This also will be ed formed, ed form. So what are we left with is analyzed only. Put your doubts if you have any. Yes, any doubts in this question, anybody? All of the Preetham is different. It's not the one with consists of. A data warehouse consists all of the data. That is consists of all the data. That would be different. Why not usable in number 4? Have assumed even usable importance. How do we know that the previous one was not usable? And even means something more, something that you already had, but even comes with when you want to say that it has increased, like even more important. Second form of verb will come there. So even greater. Okay. Any other doubt in this? No worries, Nisha. All right, so you have question number 3 and you have 2 minutes to solve this. Please post your answers in the chat box. A bit confused with the first one. I can see according to, with, along, all different answers. See, according to is when you have a basis written after, like according to the market value, the price is high. Basis. Supply chains is not a basis. So this will be weather extremes can cause economic ripples dash our supply chains. It was along. Along means everywhere through our or every place or every stage of our economic uh, every stage of our supply chain. That is along means with it. If they occur at roughly the same time, the ripples start interacting and can dash. With can, it should be V1. So what we have in V1 is we have amplify, we have expand. Now, economic ripples is not something that's expand means like increase in like if there's water on the floor that will expand, but amplify would be to increase in intensity. More stronger impact is amplifying. So economic ripples is something like economic impacts in the economy. So they will not expand, they will intensify. So it will be can amplify even if they occur at completely different places around the world, a new study shows. The resulting economic losses are greater than the sum of the initial events. The researchers find in computer simulations of the global economic network. Rich economies are affected much more than poor ones. So the sentence is complete. We need something with ly. Rich economies are affected much more vividly or much more strongly. So we are talking about effect. So we'll say strong effect, not vivid effect. Vivid is clear. Strong is like strong. So rich economies are affected much more strongly than poor ones, according to the calculations. Currently, weather extremes around the world are increasing dash greenhouse gas emissions from burning fossil fuels. So this is the reason given. So we'll say why is the weather changing so much? It is due to greenhouse gas emissions, which is a basic common fact that we all know. It is due to the greenhouse gas emissions from burning fossil fuels. If they happen simultaneously or in quick succession, even at different places on the planet, their economic dash can become much bigger than previously thought. Their economic repercussions is better than just saying effects, because we want to say negative repercussions more fit into negative effects rather than just saying effects, because effects can be positive, neutral, negative, but repercussions only mean negative effects. Negative consequences can be repercussions. So we'll go with that. Any doubts or confusions, anybody? First one is along. So this is like they're talking about business here, that in bit of technical concept. So they wanted to say that whether if weather is not good, weather is not supportive of business, then at every point, every stage of their business, this can impact the business. So that's why they say weather extremes can cause economic ripples along our supply chains. That means every stage of our supply, this can affect us. Repercussions is negative consequences. Along can come without, with also. Expand is physically increasing in size, Sahil, and economic ripples, economic impacts in the society does not have a physical existence. So they will intensify, they will become more stronger impact. So we use the word intensify or amplify. Amplify is same like increase in intensity. No, Bhagirathi, that's completely fine. Along our, along can come with anything. Along with just looks uh, nice doesn't mean that it makes better sense. It's because normally we use the word along with, but that's not that it cannot be used with any other word. Okay. The last question for today, for reading blanks, 2 minutes for this. Please post your answers in the chat box. Now, contest here means oppose. That's one meaning of contest. As a verb, it means oppose something. So this says meteorologists and emergency workers continue to oppose this popular thinking. So it was continue. Sign to contest means sign like signature. I think you understood the meaning of context wrong here. Workers continue to contest, continue to oppose the popular thinking that waiting out a tornado dash and overpass is safe. So overpass is like a bridge. So under an overpass is safe. According to the National Weather Service, doing so actually increase the risk of death. Possibility, doing so could increase the risk of death, in part because the wind from a tornado is thought to accelerate as it flows under the overpass. So they are mentioned under the overpass. in what's dash the wind tunnel effect, in what's known as, because kind of particular name that they have given, wind tunnel effect. However, few experimental studies show exactly how this acceleration takes place, or if it takes place at all. In Physics of Fluids by this publishing, researchers from the University of Rhode Island found no dash of such acceleration. So the researchers have found no evidence. Researchers are there only to find evidences for things. So we'll say researchers have found no evidence of such acceleration. Good attempt, just the first one. Some of you maybe misunderstood the word contest here, but otherwise have done well. Any doubts, anyone? Any questions, any confusions? All good? Thank you, Tejal. So these were all the questions that we had to do today. 18 out of 20 is a really good score. While is used just like WHILE. This is just a better academic way of saying while. They have the same meaning. Okay, so these were all the questions that we had to do today. I'll see you in the next class tomorrow, Tuesday at the same time, 6:30 p.m. online again. I hope you have read the instructions for this week online. Those who are going, bye, take care, see you tomorrow.